Hey, this podcast holds nothing sacred. This is Life, Tech, and Sundry. And what is Sundry? It's our experiences put in a melting pot to the internet. So join us on this wild ride called the LTS Podcast. Follow us at LT Sundry on Twitter, LTS.pod on Instagram, Life, Tech, and Sundry on YouTube, and all your favorite podcast distribution services. Stay frosty.
Welcome everyone, Marcos Lopez here, and we're back for another solo session of LTS Out of Office, the show where we step away from the desk to find the next great flavor. You might remember in a previous episode, the science of heat, why spicy food burns. We took a high-level look at how capsaicin tricks the brain to feeling the fire. But today, we're moving from the abstract to the specific as we, quote-unquote, turn up the heat. We're shifting from the broad concept of spice to a laser focus on the hillsides as we reach the peaks, plural, of the Serrano pepper. This mountain-born powerhouse, whose name literally means, quote-unquote, from the peaks, proves that big things really do come in small, fiery packages. Kicking it off with the quote-unquote little mountain profile. The geographic identity. The term Serrano translates directly from the mountains, paying homage to the high-altitude sierras of Puebla and Hidalgo, where it first emerged. The geographic heritage isn't just a label, it's the reason the pepper developed such a resilient, thick-walled structure, according to Gardenia Botanical Database in 2026. The cooler mountain climate is the primary driver behind the Serrano's uniquely crisp and firm texture, physical and chemical identity. Measuring a sleek 1 to 4 inches, the Serrano is the quote-unquote action hero in the produce aisle. Compact, intense, and ready for anything. It packs a surprisingly nutritional punch, offering significantly more vitamin C by weight than a standard novel orange. Research from Produce House in 2026 highlights that this nutrient density makes it a functional powerhouse for health-conscious foodies looking to boost their immunity. The flavor signature. Unlike peppers, the trade complexity for raw fire, the Serrano is prized for its bright, grassy, and garden fresh acidity. It acts as a culinary scalpel, slicing through the thickness of heavy fats like avocado or pork belly with ease. Noted by Pepper Scale in 2026, the quote-unquote clean burn is exactly why professionals prefer it over the fruitier, more unpredictable jalapeno. Damn, they're calling that jalapeno fruity? Damn, shots fired, right? Shots fired. Now that we've met the mountain, let's dig into the dirt to see how this Highland hero was first unearthed. Discovery, the Highland Revolution, the wild ancestry. This pepper's family tree is rooted in wild capsaicin anime varieties that have thrived in the Mexican highlands for over 6,000 years, people. That's nice, right? Archaeological deposits in the Tehuacan Valley have revealed ancient seeds, proving that humans have been quote-unquote feeling the burn since the dawn of civilization. The Chili Pepper Institute in 2026 suggests that this long history of high-altitude survival is what supercharged its concentrated capsaicin profile. The indigenous mastery. Long before global trade routes existed, the Aztecs and Totonecas were already master breeding the Serrano for consistent heat and long-distance travel. They recognized that the pepper's durability made it a vital trade commodity across the treacherous mountain passes of the Sierras. Historical insights from the Nahatic Culture Institute in 2026 reveal that these civilizations viewed the serrano as a pillar of both their diet and their economy. People, the botanical reveal. When Spanish botanists first cataloged the New World's pantry, they were stunned by the pepper that could thrive in the rocky soil where other crops failed. This rocky soil, very thin soil, you needed to be very hardy as a plant. Again, my story with papalos described in my personal stories is that there was a market for papalos. It looks like cilantro, but they're more rounded on the leaves, same kind of stem, or coriander, if you will, in English. And you would always try to go for me and the family, for papalos de monte. And you already know that those crops were smaller in amount because the people had to go up in the mountains, in the hillsides, to find the proper version for them ready for the picking. They didn't grow these, they just let them grow wildly, if you will. They were weeds, and they were so good compared to the ones in the greenhouses in los viveros. Mind you, they were bigger, the ones in the viveros, but not as flavorful. And they worked as an economy. If it helps, more power to them. The botanical reveal, right? Like I was saying, how the Spaniards were stunned by the pepper's hardiness to thrive in thin dirt, right, and rocky terrain where other crops failed. Its resilience was essentially an agricultural adaptation to the quote-unquote stressful conditions of high-altitude living. As documented in Gardenia's botanical records in 2026, that environmental pressure is exactly what creates its aggressive, sharp, and unapologetic bite. It's one thing to survive the mountains, but it's another to survive the test of time. Let's talk about the history that forged this fire. A history forged in spice, the people's pepper. During the colonial era, the serrano became a symbol of domestic culinary independence, remaining a staple in local kitchens while other spices were exported. It successfully avoided the commercial quote-unquote watering down that hit larger pepper variants, staying true to its fierce indigenous roots. Historian Sarah Johnson in 2026 notes that the serrano survival in traditional recipes is a masterclass in cultural resilience against globalized blandness. Called it. I told you, not only in the peppers but in other vegetables too. I remember when I came into the country again after leaving to grow up a little bit in Mexico, I tried the food over here. Just didn't hit right. Mom cooked some stuff and she knew it didn't hit right. It was something was missing. And it's just because of the mass production levels, there has to be a sacrifice in flavor. And that's when things need to be when things are globalized, they lose a certain profile. That indigenous little like the Europeans, they had their own low gardens, and I can imagine their flavors also diminished. But those are the prices, the consequences of becoming globalized. But this is the story of the serrano. So let's continue. Urban legend status. As Mexican cities modernized in the 20th century, the serrano migrated from the mountainsides or the mountain ridges to the neon lights of the urban taquerias. It became the high-velocity engine behind the quote-unquote immediate burn that street food enthusiasts crave across the globe. Current culinary forecasts from the James Beard Foundation in 2026 credit that quote-unquote authentic grit for keeping the serrano at the top of the global food charts. Chef's kiss right there. Chef's kiss. Street cooker's chef's kiss, right? Whether that be in the 1,000 years ago or modern day, you're never gonna beat street food, right? Gotta eat fast, gotta have flavor fast. Serrano's right there. Consistent heat evolution. Throughout history, the serrano has refused to compromise on its Scoville status, holding down a respectable and reliable median of 16,500 Scoville units. It occupies that perfect quote-unquote pro-level middle ground, hotter than a jalapeño, but far more manageable than a volcanic habanero. Alibaba Spice Research in 2026 confirms that this rock-solid consistency is why it remains the undisputed heavyweight champion of industrial salsa production, people. Damn, I'm surprised and I'm happy for it. But a pepper is only as good as the plate it's on. So, let's look at the historical wins this chili has clocked in the kitchen. Historical culinary achievements. The architect of Pico de Gallo. You cannot have a legitimate rooster's beak, Pico de Gallo, without the Serrano providing that sharp, quote-unquote, pecking heat that defines the dish. Some food historians suggest that the salsa was named specifically after the Serrano's resemblance to a bird's beak. Research from Nahatic Language and Culture 2026 insists that the Serrano presence is what truly represents authentic quote-unquote salsa bandera from generic dips. The soul of salsa verde. While the tomatillo provides the green body, the Serrano provides the electric green quote-unquote soul and high note acidity of Mexico's favorite sauce. Its thin skin allows it to be blended raw into a velvety, smooth consistency without the graininess found in thicker peppers. Top culinary academies in 2026 will teach that the Serrano is the only way to achieve that vibrant, high-definition green in a professional kitchen. Man, I'm happy that they're teaching all this to standardize it, but again, my heart's conflicted. I'm happy, and I'm also trying to gatekeep. I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you think? The preservation pioneer. Because its meaty walls, the Serrano became a historical gold standard for chiles en escabeche, or pickled chilies. It is the only chili that can survive a long-term vinegar bath while maintaining its structural integrity and satisfying quote-unquote snap. As highlighted by Chef's Warehouse in 2026, this preservation capabilities is what allowed the Serrano to conquer global plates long before refrigeration existed. Yeah, I did some chiles en escabeche in middle school, and yeah, we did use Serrano. We tried jalapeños, but Serranos were the favorite ones. Before a chef can chop it, a farmer has to grow it. Scientifically speaking, this plant is an absolute tang. Agricultural highlights. The bulletproof crop. Modern Serrano cultivations are celebrated by farmers for their natural resistance to common blights and devastating pepper viruses. This genetic hardiness makes them one of the most reliable crops for agriculture facing the unpredictability of climate shifts. Agricultural data from UC Davis 2026 shows that new regenerative farming techniques have actually boosted Serrano yields by a massive 20% in the recent years. A high yield efficiency. A single well-maintained Serrano plant can pump out over 50 pods in a season, making it an incredibly economic driver for small-scale farmers. This high output per square foot is the difference between a struggling farm and a thriving agricultural enterprise. Gardenia's latest guide 2026 points out that their compact growth habit also makes them the absolute MVPs of modern urban container farming movements. The harvest safety net. The Serrano is an overachiever because it is commercially viable, whether it is harvested young and green or sun-ripened and deep red. The green stage offers that classic sharp bite, while the red stage develops a complex fruity sweetness that artisanal makers crave. Produce House 2026 notes that this harvest flexibility allows farmers to maximize for profit regardless of when the market demands change. While it started in the soil of the Sierra, the Serrano is now going high-tech and global. Expansion worldwide. Greenhouse revolution. Pepper worldwide. The Dutch connection. High-tech greenhouses in Netherlands are now mimicking the Mexican highlands with such precision that serranos are available year-round in Europe. These quote-unquote smart greenhouses use AI-controlled climates to ensure that every pepper tastes like it was plucked from a Puebla ridge. Horti Daily 2026 reports that these systems are the primary reason the Serrano has successfully expanded its reach into the coldest corners of the globe. Precision hydroponics. By controlling exactly how much quote-unquote stress the plant feels through nutrient-rich water, hydroponic growers can dial in the Scoville level with surgical precision. This ensures that every pepper hits that exact 20,000 Scoville unit mark, eliminating the quote-unquote dud peppers often found in traditional field-grown crops. Grow Pro, not GoPro. Grow Pro Technical Data 2026 shows that this consistency is why the world's biggest food brands are switching to hydroponic Serrano bases. Damn, they're hardy, they're compact, they're worth the bang for the buck, they're very flexible, and now with technology, they're making it more consistent and still keeping that chef's kiss from the hillsides. Now, mainstream domination. The Serrano has officially graduated from the quote-unquote ethnic aisle to the front and center produce section of every major global supermarket. Consumers are moving towards quote-unquote clean heat alternatives as they ditch sugary condiments. What did I just say? Sugary. They're literally calling them sugary condiments for fresh, spicy ingredients that enhance meal prep. Restaurant.org in 2026 has officially crowned the Serrano as a top 10 global trend for its ability to bridge the gap between quote-unquote safe and quote-unquote adventurous flavors. With all this global growth, you might wonder, why choose this pepper over the rest of the spice rack? Standing out from the chili pack. The Scoville advantage. A Serrano is essentially a jalapeno on steroids, packing 3 to 4 times the capsaicin punch in a smaller, sleeker frame. It offers an immediate, sharp burn that doesn't overstay its welcome, making it perfect for the modern, fast casual palate. Recent HPLC testing verified by Alibaba Spices 2026 confirms that the Serrano's chemical profile is uniquely optimized for a quick hit, if you will, of heat experience. Zero prep efficiency. Unlike the thick-skinned chile poblano or jalapeno, the Serrano does not need to be roasted or peeled before it's added to a dish. This makes it significantly more efficient for high-volume kitchens when speed, texture, and fresh flavor are the primary goals. Professional guides from Serious Eats 2026 emphasizes that the Serrano's quote-unquote grassier top notes are best preserved by using the peppers raw and skin on. The ultimate balancer. One of the Serrano's most unique traits is its quote-unquote clean burn, which enhances other ingredients rather than masking them with smoke or sweetness. This makes it the ideal quote-unquote balancer for complex fusion dishes like spicy craft cocktails or fruit-based ceviches. Experts at Spice.com in 2026 argue that this lack of lingering aftertaste is exactly why the Serrano is the superior choice for high-end culinary applications. We've seen where it's been and why it's better. So let's look at the legacy the Serrano is building in 2026. The modern legacy and 2026 trends. Sriracha successor. Many of the world's most famous hot sauces are shifting their base from red jalapeño to red serrano to achieving a more vibrant color and a sharper bite. This shift is part of a 2026 movement towards quote-unquote ultra-fresh condiments that avoids heavy fermentation or artificial preservatives. As noted in Food Trends 2026, Serrano-Switch quote-unquote is the most significant move in the condiment industry in the last decade. Industrial fermentation. Leading chefs are increasingly using serranos in quote-unquote international fermentation projects to create chili pastes with massive umami depths. This process preserves the pepper's mountain-born brightness while adding a savory complexity that you just can't get from raw peppers. The James Beard Foundation 2026 lists these cultured serrano pastes as a key way restaurants are currently quote-unquote expressing time and place. Again, preserving them gives them a new profile for different parts in the world that I wasn't thinking, and it makes me happy and hungry. The sustainable spice. Because the serrano is naturally hardy and requires fewer pesticides than more delicate peppers, it has become the poster child for regenerative agriculture. Dinners in 2026 are gravitating towards these quote-unquote transparent ingredients that tell a story of ethical farming and indigenous stewardship. Again, the Culinary Forecast 2026, the Serrano is perfectly positioned as both a flavor powerhouse and a sustainable agricultural hero. Feeling the burn? And that's a wrap on our Serrano deep dive. Hopefully, I haven't peppered you with too much information, but when a topic is this hot, you just have to go all in, people. Dear listener, if you're feeling the burn of curiosity, go grab some serranos and start experimenting. Just remember, don't touch your eyes afterwards, or grab some gloves, or you'll really have a crying shame on your hands. If you want to keep the fire going and stay connected, check out the links in this episode's description. We've got our Apple Podcast and Spotify homes where you can keep the show in your pocket, and our YouTube channel where you'll also find the podcast and some B-roll footage that I've recorded about, dash cam footage where I pepper over the podcast. But wherever you follow, I highly appreciate it. For the daily grind, follow the heat over on Instagram or join the conversation on X, formerly known as Twitter. Still not gonna fully call it X, still gonna remember as Twitter. And if you've really enjoyed today's serving and want to keep our creative kitchen stocked, you can always buy me a coffee to keep the energy levels high. I'm Marcos Lopez, and I'll see you the next time we step away from the desk and find the next great flavor. Stay spicy, everyone, and stay frosty. Have some water.